Showtime! The Capital G Show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So guys, doing another episode of Hidden Gems. I know I haven't done Hidden Gems in a little while, but now that we are in a post-Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy world, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity. I mean, it's basically like the format has had the reset button pressed on it, and we now have a brand near tier 0 level deck in Dragon Rulers. Prophecy got a huge boost in Tachyon Galaxy, and now they are near tier 0. We've also got Evil Swarm that just recently came out, and they're going to be tearing things up. So I feel like this is a great opportunity to talk about, you know, a lot of good tech ideas and some of these cards that can easily be put in a lot of side decks. The card I'm talking about today is Deck Lockdown. It's a continuous spell from Light of Destruction that reads, neither player can add cards to their hand except by drawing them, and cannot special summon monster cards from the deck. Destroy this card during your second standby phase after activation. So this is one of those cards where I really think that it's good against every single high tier deck of the format. It especially works well if you're playing a slower paced deck, and it does a ton of things against these top tier decks. Number one, it brings your opponent's deck down to your speed. Number two, it stops all the deck thinning that a lot of those high tier decks have. Number three, it curbs a lot of those, you know, one card synchro exceed plays like Rescue Rabbit, Tour Guide, Diva. Number four, it limits all the searchability that we have in this format in lieu of actual draw power. And I've got a list here of all the cards that get absolutely wrecked, and you'd be surprised of how many high tier decks basically can't run without their, you know, staple cards that they need to see in the first couple of turns. You're playing against Prophecy. Okay, well, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, Justice of Prophecy, Spellbook of Secrets, and of course, the ever so powerful Spellbook of Judgment. I mean, if your opponent can't play Spellbook of Judgment on you, then what are they doing? If they don't have Spellbook of Secrets to get their deck rolling, they're not doing anything. You play against Dragon Ruler. Alright, well, the 4 big E-Dragons will not get searches when they're banished. The babies cannot activate their effects to summon the big dragons from the deck, so your opponent really doesn't have any big plays there. You know, you can now bottomless their monsters. You can now, you know, use things like Macrocosmos to slow them down and know that they won't search. They can't use the Gold Sarcophagus play and go +1 on you. Same thing with the 7-star draw card. It just really hurts them. Against Mermail, this card is absolutely fantastic. Your opponent, again, I've already stated, will not have access to the Diva play. If they attack you with Atlantean Marksman, they won't get any bonus. Atlantean Dragoons won't trigger. Atlantean or Abyss Spike will not get a search. Abyss Lyn will not summon anything. Abyss Megalo and Abyss Theus will both not get searches. So Mermail, pretty much every other card in the deck is like severely hurt. Let's say you're playing against Fire Fist. They can't activate Tinky, or excuse me, they can, but you know, they won't get any search. So it's like, what's the point? They don't have access to their Rescue Rabbit plays or their Tour Guide plays. And even if your opponent is beating you down with a bear or a gorilla, I mean, they can't get any searches off that. The same goes with, you know, Firefish Dragon if they happen to be running that. And then even if you're playing, you know, some of those middle of the pack tier decks that may be considered rogue at this point, you can still shut down a lot of their most powerful plays. Let's say you're playing against Wind Up. You know, you don't get Wind Up Factory's effect. You know, you won't get the special summon ability of Wind Up Magician. And, I mean, Wind Up Factory is pretty much the most important card of the entire deck, and Magician is the most explosive card in the deck. So if you're stopping, you know, some of the top options in your opponent's deck, then you're going to be at least in a good position, even though this card doesn't work permanently. Now, against Evil Swarm, I wouldn't say that this card is great. You know, the only thing it really stops is, you know, I know Evil Swarm won Reinforcements of the Army. They have the Infestation Trap card that lets them search for monsters, and obviously Ophion won't get the search. So that actually might be a contender to side deck this card in against decks like Prophecy or, you know, Elemental Dragons. Now, a lot of people are going to instantly look to the fact that this card is destroyed in the second standby phase after activation and probably want to get around that, but I gotta tell you guys, it is a maintenance cost, so you can't use things like the Master Key Beetle or White Dragon Ninja to negate that. It's still going to be destroyed. However, you can still reuse it with, you know, bouncing effects like Zephyros the Elite or Mist Valley Falcon. And this card is especially good in Constellars because you can make Constellar Prelades, you can just bounce it and then you can activate it again. Let's say you're playing against a deck like Prophecy, as I said, where you know, they're not doing anything if they don't have the Magician and Spellbook of Secrets and Spellbook of Judgment. Like, they don't have any plays. The same go for E-Dragons. Yeah, I mean, they can just summon the E-Dragons, but they're extremely unsafe. If your opponent doesn't have something like Super Rejuvenation, then they can't risk throwing all their cards on board knowing that they can't just banish them from the graveyard and search other cards and do all this other crappy derp shit. So, you know, I look at this card where against basically every good deck of the format, the deck is either looking to search cards or it's looking to do, like, you know, really good plays where they're searching monsters from the deck and summoning them. I mean, E-Dragons do both. So I think that this card is at least side deck worthy. In Japan, I think they side it in Evil Swarm because it doesn't really hurt many of the cards, especially if you activate it after you search your, you know, your pandemic virus and you have like Ophion on board. E-Dragons basically just lose. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you for watching. Subscribing makes life happy.